career-high 34, the win against the Grizzlies. Simmons has Korkmaz. It's for three. That's Korkmaz measuring another three. Korkmaz another three. Yes! Whatever you do, Ben Simmons, give it to Furkan Korkmaz. Nice defense on Hutchison. He's claiming he was fouled. The whistles remain silent. Simmons high-stepping his way to glory. Well done by Ben Simmons. Give him 16. Oh, and a steal by Korkmaz.
Careless pass from Levine.
Furkan for a three. Yes! Wow! Embiid, a healthy three. Yes! That ought to put the capper on this one. The perfect way to cap Australian Heritage Night here at Wells Fargo Center.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to First Take. Max Kellerman in the studio with me. Stephen A. Smith is joining us from L.A. this morning. I'm Rachel Lindsay. Now, before we get into the great show that we have planned for, we're going to get into that because we got a great show planned for you guys here today, but we got to talk about last night first. Now, most of you know the Oscars were on last night, but did you happen to catch the After the Award show starring none other than our own Stephen A. Smith? Max, did you catch it?
Oh, yes, of course. Stephen A. was charismatic as always. Stephen A., I didn't know you had such an interest in the Academy Awards.
Neither did I, Max. Neither did I. I watched the Oscars. They asked me to do it about 48 to 72 hours before the Oscars, obviously. I had a great time. I try to show my range every now and then, Max. Everything in my life is not about sports. I want to do other things too, but I certainly didn't expect this. I was honored that ABC asked me to do this. I was very flattered, and obviously I jumped at the opportunity. Want to give props to Ben Lyons and, of course, the lovely, wonderful Maria Menounos. She was absolutely sensational, and she looked sensational as well. I was just the third wheel trying to hold it down. I don't think I did that bad.
I thought you held it down. I wasn't expecting it. I was watching the
More
news,
than held it down, yeah.
And I said, is that Stephen A. Smith?
Yeah,
I want to see Parasite now. I got to see that movie.
Listen, Max, I watched 9 movies in 2 days. 9 movies in 2 days because I had to make sure I didn't miss anything. I knew what the hell I was talking about. I got to tell you, Parasite deserved all the acclaim they received last night, except to me for Best Director. I thought that should have went to Quentin Tarantino, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That was my only thing.
Yeah. Well,
I thought that Parasite deserved everything else but that category.
I got 3 kids, so I get to see a movie in the theater about twice a year, but I catch them on planes, Stephen A. I'll be catching them on the plane.
That's when I catch them too. Okay, we have a good show planned for you guys today, so we're just going to go ahead and get right into it. Now, despite being a team stacked with some of the NBA's top talent in the East, the Philadelphia 76ers are number 5 in the Eastern Conference standings. Now critics are starting to question whether or not All-Stars Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid can coexist on the team together. Now recently, Sixers GM Elton Brand gave his thoughts on the Embiid-Simmons duo. This is what he had to say, quote, "It's a problem that a lot of GMs would like to have, if it's a problem at all." End quote. There are 2 All-Stars. We just need to figure out how these pieces can fit. I think you can play very fast. Playoffs are going to slow down, and you have a dominant post player you can play through also. It's a good problem to have if it's a problem, end quote. Now, Stephen A., I'm going to start with you on this one. Is the Embiid-Simmons duo a problem for the Sixers?
Well, I don't think that's the biggest problem for the Sixers. I think the biggest problem for the Sixers is coaching. That's where I'm at with it. I mean, I've been consistent on that position. Obviously, Embiid needs to be more durable, more committed, and stop messing around. And last year it was playing around, and this year it's about Max trying to feel his way through, get other people involved and stuff like that. We all know they're not the same without Jimmy Butler, but we need to understand why. It's not just the player in Jimmy Butler that they miss. It's the leader. It's the one that held them accountable, didn't take any mess, was willing to ruffle feathers, getting folks' face and in their chest and demand a level of commitment and excellence from them. I mean, he doesn't even have to do that in Miami, even though he still does. But guys like Ben Adebayo and others are willing to do that because you have a leader in Pat Riley. And it starts from the top. Obviously, he's got his clone in the younger Eric Spoelstra. He's that guy. And then you go down to the players. So you understand all of that going on. In the case of Embiid, last year he was playing around. This year he's been a roller coaster. Last night against the Chicago Bulls, he's sitting there and trying to shush the crowd, which is one of the reasons that they got booed. People are looking at the Philadelphia 76ers, understanding that the expectation was supposed to be championship contention. You're supposed to be one of the top 2 or 3 seeds in the Eastern Conference. That has not been the case. It's been problematic, and as a result, people have been looking at them. But to me, it's about the coach. And I'm not necessarily talking about his coaching per se. Yes, he needs to get away from the San Antonio Spurs system. Tim Duncan ain't walking through that door. Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker ain't walking through that door in Philadelphia. Somebody needs to tell Brett Brown that. But he can coach. He does know what he's talking about. I think the biggest problem is that the players come across as a bit dismissive of him at times. The level of respect doesn't match the level of affection everybody has for him. Everybody loves Brett Brown. Max, I don't know whether you've met him or not, whether you've talked to him. He's a wonderful, wonderful man. He really, really is. Great guy to talk to. Is just considerate, not truculent or acerbic the way that Greg Popovich can do, even though Greg Popovich is a phony because he's one of the nicest people you'll ever meet in your life. He really, really is. And that exterior, I'm not saying it's fake, but that's not who Greg Popovich is. He's a good man. But Brett Favre wears that good man on his sleeve. I just think that they got a level of affection for him, but the respect doesn't match it, and that's the problem, Max.
I'm the one who came out and said, at this point last year, that Simmons should have his own team, that his development is being stunted by being on the same team with Embiid. If you look at the Greek Freak and his first couple years, every year ascending, and now he towers above the league, at least in the regular season. He's by far the best player in the league in the regular season. Simmons has not been going on that trajectory. But let's not get this twisted. I'm not saying that Simmons with Embiid is a problem. They're still 2 all-stars. I just think that Simmons could be fully unlocked in a way that's even better if you built a team around him. This team is not built around Simmons. So I'm not suggesting get rid of Embiid right now and somehow they'd be better. In fact, you saw when Embiid went down what Simmons is capable of those, 9 games? Simmons went off offensively. He's already probably the defensive player of the year so far, but he went off offensively. But the team didn't function great offensively. They were near the bottom of the league in offensive rating because they were missing an all-star, quasi-superstar player in Embiid. Not quite an MVP, but something more than just a regular all-star. You take that off the team, it's a problem. Stephen A., the problem with the Sixers this year, and it pains me to say it because he's one of my favorite players, is Al Horford. Look at, first of all, the eyeball test. You can see, I was shocked to learn, I brought this up last week, he'd never played the 4 in his career. It's so odd. He's such a Swiss Army knife player. He can bring the ball up, can defend in the paint, he can defend the rim, can post up, can shoot. He just does everything, but he's never played the 4? Who knew? Anyway, while the defense is a little bit better with Horford on the floor, it's still plenty respectable with him off the floor. The offense, especially if Simmons and Embiid, that combination, plummets with Horford on the floor. It's not just that you see him on nights with 2 points, with no points, something like that. It's that the entire team's offense just doesn't function right with Horford on the floor. Now, you may say that goes to coaching and Brett Brown has to get his hands on that and everything. But the bottom line is it's that one player. Because Embiid and Simmons together, their offensive rating would be in the top 3 or 4. The Sixers would be in the top 3 or 4 of the league. And the bottom line is at home, they are 24-2, which is the best in the NBA. So they function very well at times. Horford has been the issue. I hate to say it.
Well, first of all, I don't think you're wrong. I don't think you're wrong there from a player's perspective. If we've got to pinpoint a player, he's down 1 point a game in points per game, 1 assist. He was shooting 53% from the field last year, 52%, something around there. Now he's at 43%. He shot 36% from 3 last year. He's at 32%. He has definitely been an Achilles heel with their offense. There's no doubt about it. But I think when we ask this kind of question, Max, what we're talking about, what has the more profound impact? And I'm saying to you, more than Horford's lackluster play, it's the coaching of Brett Brown when it comes to dealing with his players. For example, he came into the season telling Philadelphia media, Ben Simmons needs to attempt to shoot more perimeter shots. Ben Simmons hasn't done that. And so, just ignoring your coach. We looked at Joel Embiid. We said, you lose to Toronto in the postseason. That game 7, we all know the famous shot by Kawhi Leonard that bounced 4 times. You walk to the locker room, walking down the hallway, you're crying into the arms of your girl right in front of the world, and cameras are clicking and everything like that. And we say, hey, you know what? You're going to come back this year. Going to play in lights out. You're more focused. Your first game back on that same court at 7-1 with the skill set you have, you score 0 points. You're down in points. You're down in rebounds. You're still haphazard in terms of your durability. You're still haphazard in terms of your level of production. These are issues. And if you are a coach and the cornerstones of your franchise are people that you do not have on the same page, you don't have them locked in and focused and ready to maximize their ability, that's on you as a coach.
All right, look, that's a good point. But it takes a special coach. I'll use Shaq as an example. I'm not saying Embiid is Shaq. True. But he's sort of the closest thing we have, a real big actual center in the NBA, big personality, the whole thing. Mm-hmm. Shaq Penny ultimately didn't work out to the extent that they won a championship, but they were a dominant team, 60-plus win team. They made the finals. Had Jordan not come back, they'd have made the finals again, most likely. Yep. They were around the same age, and there was an ego issue. They needed a coach to get that under control. Shaq Kobe required Phil Jackson to make that work, right? Right. Because they were also contemporaries.
Because Brian Hill wasn't the one.
Right. Shaq Wade worked better because Shaq was the elder statesman. Wade was the young guy coming up. So the relationship, there was a natural relationship that fit in better. Okay. Even so, you had a great coach. Saying Brett Brown is not Phil Jackson or Pat Riley is fair. Saying he's the problem is something else, unless what you mean by problem is not winning a championship. He may not be the coach to win a championship with these players, but that's different than saying he's the problem.
Yeah, well, Max, you got Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. You got to be a top 2 seed in the Eastern Conference. You got to get to the conference finals. There's just no excuse. The only excuse should be the Greek Freak standing in my way. There should be no other excuse for the Philadelphia 76ers in the Eastern Conference, but we've got a bunch of them.
All right, we're just getting started. We've got more 76ers talk later on in the show. Plus, we have to let you know what's happening this week. The crossover is back for a 7th year this Wednesday and Thursday on ESPN and the ESPN app. We're pairing a college analyst with an NBA analyst for twice the basketball breakdowns. We've got Doris Burke and LaFonso Ellis, who will cover the Bucks versus the Pacers. Then we have Jeff Van Gundy and Jay Billis, who will have the Lakers versus the Nuggets. And then Doris Burke is back the next night for Memphis versus Cincinnati, along with Bryce Drew. And Mark Jackson teams up with Bill Walton for Colorado versus Oregon. I know she's amazing. And still to come on First Take, we got to talk about my Dallas Cowboys. And we have to tackle the question, who would give the Cowboys the best chance to win a Super Bowl?